Good morning, everybody. So I'm Bart Bibek, indeed, from the FCH, and I'm very happy to be here. It's the first time for me to be in Estonia, and unfortunately I didn't have really enough time yet to explore the nice city, but I heard fantastic stories about Tallinn, and maybe, I hope this afternoon I might have some time to just have a quick view of your old town. Anyway, we are here to talk about fuel cells and what we have done in the recent years. So, let me see, okay, there we are. So, first of all, a bit helicopter view is why Europe is investing in hydrogen and fuel cells technology. And there are several very, very good reasons for that. And the first one is energy security. Europe has to be able to produce his energy here locally. So at the moment, we are very much depending still on foreign countries, which maybe can be stable, unstable, as we all know. And it's not always so easy then to have discussions with on geopolitical level. So that's why we need to make sure we produce our energy here, locally, and in a clean way. Another very important point is the competitiveness of our industry, our private partners. So worldwide, I mean, countries are really investing in this technology, and we have to make sure that our industry is at the same pace or even leading in this technology. Finally, decarbonization of the European economy. I think the Paris Agreement that has been signed, where the European Commission really put it forward, very severe targets. I mean, you can see them on the slide. And we need really fast action in order to achieve them. And that's why basically fuel cells and hydrogen is of a very important technology for the European Union. Just to explain it, and maybe some of you might know what is the hydrogen economy. For some of you it might be new, but to explain it very briefly is that what Europe is facing at the moment is a lot of excess green electricity or renewable electricity. I mean, we have solar panels, we have also wind mills that generate green electricity. The point is today that a lot of that electricity that is generated cannot be put on the grid because the grid, it might make the grid unstable. So it would be very important to store that electricity so that we can use it later on in the year, for example. And for that, to be able to store, well, hydrogen is one of the best technologies to do that. And that's why, again, we are investing so much in this technology. And for that, we need electrolyzers. I mean, we need to make, from this green electricity, we need to make hydrogen. We use electrolyzers. You have all kinds of technologies in electrolyzers. We are supporting all kinds of them. And then when we have the hydrogen, then we can store it in caverns under the ground for seasonal storage. So, for example, like in Germany, there is like 2 weeks in Germany that there is not enough wind or solar to produce all the electricity that they need in a green way. So that's why they need to store their electricity in summertime to be able to use it in November, actually, this electricity. Or you can use it also in your houses. I mean, you have micro CHPs, stationary fuel cells. You can also put it in big apartment blocks and so on. And also in the industry. So really to clean the industry, because today a lot of hydrogen is already being used in refineries, in steel making, in ammoniac making. So that hydrogen at the moment is not so clean. So we need also to decarbonize that part of the industry. Also, hydrogen can come from biomass, so also there we are working on. So you see there's many, many pathways how to produce hydrogen. So this was the energy part, but then also you have, of course, the transport part. So also hydrogen can be used in transport, and basically up from bicycles, because we have seen now some bicycles coming on hydrogen, up to airplanes, maritime and so on. So all these kind of projects also this kind of applications we are supporting, and you will see that. So this we call the hydrogen economy. So it's not only about a car on fuel cells or a micro CHP in a house. No, it's really a big economy. It's everything is linked to each other. It's like sector coupling, energy, transport, and so on. So for the European Union, I mean, fuel cells, when they started the first research, was already back in 1986, so it's already quite a long time. At that time, it was very, very small support, and it was really very basic research, really like on a cell level research. So over the years, you see that every framework program, a framework program is about 6-7 years, where they really spend money on research. You can see every framework program, more and more money was put it in this technology. And then from FP7, so from 2006 onwards, basically the commission say, well, now we did already so much research, now it's really time also for our private partners, the industry, to come in, and they call themselves Hydrogen Europe. And there are around 105 members, but very important here to mention is in this sector, 50% of the industry is really small and medium enterprises, very small companies who are believing in this technology and really driving this technology and bring it to a point of production. And also here in Estonia, we have a company who is really working on that. On the other hand, we have Energy. This is the grouping of the research, big research organizations. You can see them on the chart. It's about 65 members there. And then in the middle, we have the European Commission. And altogether, we are basically aiming to accelerate the development of this technology and really bringing products on the market, because that's the most important. The citizens have to be able to experience those technologies, okay? And together we put a total program of 1.4 billion euro in place. And half of that money is paid by the European Commission, like 665 million euro. The other half is paid by the industry. So for each 1 euro from public, 1 euro in private is given to it. And I think it's a very fair way of working together. So from the Commission side, we got 5 main objectives to work around. And the first one is hydrogen storage, really to balance the grid, as I explained. The second one is to work around green hydrogen production. We have electrolyzers, but there are already also new technologies evolving that we also supporting. We have to work around clean transport, so as I explained, from every transport means that brings us from A to B we are working on. We have to reduce the use of critical raw materials. In our case, it's mainly platinum. There we try to also go to a platinum-free catalyst, for example. And we have to work around heat and electricity production to heat our buildings and so on. So these are the 5 main objectives. So far, where are we today with the program? And here I combine the first phase and the second phase in this chart. We have 203 projects, supported 730 million euro from public money. And then the private side, they put it 782 million euros. So actually a little bit more money was put it from the private side than the public side. So you see that in energy we have 114 projects, and in transport 52 projects. But the amount of money is pretty much the same. And the reason is just in energy we have smaller projects, and transport is really big projects like big buses. You will hear about that later. But also, and that's very important, we're working on a horizontal layer which is cross-cutting. And cross-cutting, this is all about standardization. RCS, regulation, codes and standards. It's very important that worldwide we are using the same ways to, for example, measure the performance of a fuel cell. So that we can really compare them one-to-one. So this kind of activity we are doing. Also we work around safety measures, education of the workforce, the trainings of the workforce. Also we have some summer schools on fuel cells, and also consumer awareness. So make sure that our citizens understand what is this technology. We have a lot of projects on that as well. So just a quick view in Estonia. I mean, in Estonia we work, Elcogen, and he's the CEO of that company. We have already been working since a while with them. I think this is the main company that gets basically support also from the European Commission here. And also we work together with the university here in Tartu indirectly. Energy. So at the moment, basically we are covering all kinds of technologies, as I explained, at all stages of the development. So it means we talk about degradation, lifetime, materials, next generation stacks, we're starting to work on that, diagnostics, manufacturing as well. You see manufacturing started a bit later, so first more research and then we move gradually now to manufacturing. So we worked around fuel stack lifetime, is very important, also for SOFC is important. As I said, we shift now more to the manufacturing side, and I think it's very fair to say that Europe, really worldwide, we have a clear leadership in the SOFC technology. I mean, we say like we have really 5 companies here in Europe which are really world leading, and one of them is of course here in Estonia. Also, we have been able then to reduce the costs. Still, we need to work on that further, but we have quite reduced the costs so far, and that really, because of these cost reductions, these demo projects, we really started, and you will hear about that. In general, we are technology neutral, but we see clearly SOFC and PEM are basically the 2 technologies which are major at the moment. So when we look then into field demonstrations, the first slide was about research, now demonstrations. What did we do so far? We built a biogas, for example, installation on 170 kilowatt. That was in Torino in Italy for wastewater treatment plants. Then also we had a lot of off-grid and backup power system in remote areas across Europe. Also in China recently we supported some European companies who would build actually a 2 megawatt chlor-alkali plant where they use basically the waste hydrogen to produce heat and electricity. And also we work a lot to actually make a European supply chain, because this is very important so that we can create jobs and growth here in Europe, and thus we need a supply chain. So we worked around that as well. And one of very also successful projects we had was on micro CHPs, the market. We really created, thanks to our projects, a market here in Europe. And later I will go a bit more on that in this slide here. So just on micro CSPs, what we did is that it started first in Germany with a national project which called Calux, where they had built like 500 units, which demonstrated that this technology works, okay, and it showed clear benefits. But then, in order to really boost it, I mean, really go into manufacturing and make sure that companies are investing in this technology, we had to increase the volume. And that's why we have launched 2 projects, Infield and PACE, really to boost that volume. And because we boost that volume, we had those projects on a European level, the cost went down, as you can see. And when the cost went down, then we saw a lot of national governments, like in Germany and now also in the UK and later on in France, they said, oh, this is very interesting because it's, well, at least 30% energy efficient, and depending on the country, it can be reduce your CO2 impact with 80%. So we should do some subsidy on that. We have to motivate our citizens to really put that technology in their houses. And that's why big subsidy schemes are coming, and we will see also other European countries now moving into that direction. You can see at the moment where most of the units are deployed. You can see a lot in Germany, UK, Netherlands, Belgium, France, Switzerland, Austria, Italy. So that's where now we can already see today at the houses of people this technology. And we are sure that in the future it will become, or in the near future, it will become more and more popular. So this is a bit on KPIs, because also our program, we have technical KPIs. So we have KPIs set in 2017 for this year. I have KPIs set in 2020 and 2024. So we have to work around that. So all our projects that we are doing is to reach those KPIs that has been set together with the research and the industry. Okay, so here you can see the objectives. I will not go through all of them in detail. At the moment, the results that you see is basically, so once a year we kind of make a picture. Where are we with the technology? This is the picture of end of 2015, and now we are preparing now the picture of where we were at end of 2016, and we will publish maybe in the next 2 months the results where we are, okay? Because today is actually, I mean, 2017 is the first year where we have to show where we are, okay? So, but we come a long time. I mean, electricity efficiency and thermal efficiency, basically the targets has been reached. Still for CapEx, so the cost, And electrical efficiency and the durability, there is still some work in progress for the moment. The other topic we are working is how to produce your hydrogen, so hydrogen production. Also there you can see that we support a lot of different pathways to produce hydrogen. I will not go into all the details, but important to mention is that electrolyzers are really at the core of the green hydrogen production at the moment, but we also have other means of producing hydrogen from renewable fuels and so on. And also more recently, this is still very much in the research phase, but we use concentrated solar and photoelectrochemical routes as well. Still it's laboratory, and now especially for the photoelectrochemical, we now move to a first demonstration. So we will build a first big panel and try to produce directly hydrogen from solar. So we are moving in the right way. Also here for electrolyzers, very clear. Here you have the two technologies, PEM and you have alkaline. Here you can see where we are. So some of them we already achieved those KPIs. Some of them we're still working on that. So again, end of this year, you will have the final status. And then we might have to address our projects or program a little bit in order to achieve them where we did not yet achieve it. Just to give you a picture how far we came from electrolyzers. So you see the first project was in 2011, and that was the Donkey Shot project. At that time we talked about a 150 kilowatt project, and I remember back in that time that the industry and the research said, my God, 150 kilowatt, wow, that's a challenge. I can tell you today we are actually now discussing 20 megawatt electrolyzers, and that's only in 6 to 7 years time. That means that really to show that these projects and this support from Europe really can accelerate the development in technology. And we are sure that there is a huge potential for this technology. I mean, we have been studying the power to hydrogen pathway, and by 2025 we believe that we might need a 2.8 gigawatt of electrolyzers will be required, and that's pretty much a good market value. I mean, 4.2 billion euro of a market value. So just let's do it. Huh? And I mean, last year and I mean, no, 2016, end of 2016, and basically, or beginning of this year, we announced a very big project. We call it H2 Future. This is really, we put now a electrolyzer at a steel production plant. And this is a plant that is with Voestalpine. It's an Austrian steel maker, where we really try to clean the steel industry as well, using green hydrogen. So another thing that we reduced, of course, is the cost. Thanks to all this research that we did, we reduced the cost drastically. Also very interesting, on this year in June, actually a 100 megawatt power to hydrogen plant was announced that will be built basically in France, in Normandy. And this is to inject really hydrogen into the gas grid. And this is also a way to green your gas, the natural gas that we, in some countries, which is very popular. Moving from energy to transport, and this is about a chart from BMW. So BMW is also very active in our programs. They have been joining a lot of research projects, Autostack Core, Volumetric, Inspire, which really help them to develop their fuel cell technology, their in-house technology. And very interesting now is that in June, was very good news for us, is that basically Daimler, Volkswagen, Audi, Ford, and BMW, basically the German big OEMs, they came together and they say, well, from Europe, you really helped us a lot in developing and do the research activity. Now we take the results of that research and we will bring it into industrialization. And then together with the German government, which put also a lot of money, on the table, it's like a 60 million euro project, German project, and without any European funding anymore. So we kick-started by the research. Now it's taken over by the industry and the national government, and they will really bring it into industrialization, which is a very good success. But on the other hand, also, they said we need to work further on the cost. So today we are 90 euro per kilowatt, and they said, BMW said, well, we have to reduce it further to 15 to 20 euro per kilowatt, which would be equal to the cost of a 4-cylinder gasoline engine. So we really have to work on that, and that's why the next phase, so as I said, we had phase 1, we had phase 2, but also it's very clear within phase 3, if we go into that direction, is cost reduction. It will be the key. Okay. So you will see here also the coming years, a lot of OEMs and European OEMs will launch vehicles. I think yesterday we could hear the very great news from Daimler that they announced in Frankfurt, or they showed basically their GLC. So this is fantastic. Also, they are already working on this next generation stack. So they are really convinced this technology is required. Also, Audi and Volkswagen is working on fuel cell cars. I mean, here on the picture you can see the Audi h-tron, but also they will launch later in around 2022, I heard. They will launch also cars. Also, we have BMW, which will launch around 2023 a car. We might have some demos earlier. Also, Renault is working very close together with Symbio. They have some kind of range extenders. Also, PSA is considering how to work with fuel cells and hydrogen. It's not yet clear what pathway they will go. When we talk about FCVs on the road today, we have 900 vehicles on the road, and we hope, and I think the forecast looks promising, but we probably by the end of the year, we will, I'd say, cross the border of 1,000 vehicles on the road in Europe today, and that would be great after we started basically in 2014 with the first cars. Also, Volvo Cars is participating in our program. We know that Fiat is also considering to Iveco. Hyundai showed also their new SUV. So, and a lot of other OEMs are really working on it. So it will happen. So it is very complementary with other technologies. When we talk about hydrogen refueling stations today, we have around 100 hydrogen refueling stations on the ground, and actually this is we are the area with the most hydrogen refueling stations worldwide. I mean, California, I think they just are now close to 40, and Japan is now also reaching the 100s. But actually Europe was very much advanced for a long time with the number of hydrogen stations. And what was the big benefit? It was actually that our European manufacturers for HRSs got the chance to learn. You know? They built them, there were some problems, they solved those problems, and they could really improve the quality. And because of that, now a lot of European companies are actually building HRSs across the world. I mean, we have Air Liquide, for example, in Japan. We have Nel, who is working in building stations in California, also in Korea. Also ITM from the UK is building stations in California. So what I want to show is that basically because of our projects, we really supported them. We give the industry and the research a chance to gain knowledge, and now we create jobs and growth in Europe thanks to this activity. Another very big success story is the buses. So far we have supported around 200 buses, fuel cell buses across Europe. And I will probably sign by the end of the year another grant, which probably will have another 150 buses supported. So totally Europe would have supported around 350 buses, fuel cell buses. But because of all that noise that we made, because a lot of cities became interested, they say, oh, but I also want this kind of hydrogen bus. I mean, I have to clean up my city as well. And also Tallinn is one of them, and I think we will hear later about that. But because of that, I mean, we have picked up about nearly 1,000 buses would be a potential appetite now for our cities and regions to be built. And 1,000 buses, I mean, that's a €2 billion market appetite. So it's really worth to invest in that. So, and just to show how quickly it went, when we started the first project, this was with Chick, at that time a bus costed 1.8 million euro. And there was very little, how to say, interest from the industry really to put a lot of money in that, because they said, well, it's a technology, it might work, but where's the market, you know? So, but we said in Europe, let's go for it and let's support it. And then we put pretty a lot of money in that at the beginning. But you can see that the costs went down. If you follow the green line, the costs went down very quickly with the different projects that we did. And I can tell you now today, and the project that I will sign later on this year, make a leverage effect of 9. So what means that for every 1 bus that we fund from Europe, the industry will put 9 buses. So for the beginning, where almost 100% we funded the buses, we now move to basically a big, I'd say, industrial investment, which is very good. That shows really we can reduce our public support in that. Also, what happened because of that is DG Move, this is Directorate of Transport and the European Commission, they launched a big bus initiative for 2000. They want to put 2,000 buses on the road. And they were looking to the FCH JU. They said, well, you have already good experience, so we would like to learn from you. And what you did with a few hundred buses, now we want to do it with thousands of buses, you know. And so that's how we also contribute to really big policies. This is where we are with cars and with refueling stations on the KPIs. Again, I will not go too much in detail, but we are really monitoring and tracking where we are. Okay? Same for the buses, but I can already say, because here we see still work in progress, because I was 2015, but I can already say today all the KPIs for the buses have been achieved. We have even buses in London showing a durability of 24,000 hours, so it's pretty impressive for that. But this is a very interesting slide. When we started the second phase of the fuel cells and hydrogen joint undertaking back in 2013, we were mainly talking about cars, buses, and refueling stations. But recently now we see interest coming from everywhere, maritime, from the trains, also trucks. I think when we were back in 2013, if we would say, well, 3 years later or 4 years later, trucks and maritime will come, we would say, no, that's not possible, you know. But actually today it happens. And I always say a little bit we are the victim of our own success of this technology, because a lot of applications coming, but unfortunately our budget is put on pressure now because so many applications are coming and we need to think how we will deal with it. Some study has been done is that basically it's much more cheaper to put a hydrogen train than to put all the electrical wirings and put an electrical train. It's 50% cheaper. Because it's like we'd say to build 1 kilometer of electrical wiring, it's about 1.2 million euro. So it's very expensive, you know. So it's much more cheaper, just put a hydrogen train. I mean, some people did it. I mean, Alstom built this regional train in Germany, and they are planning to really expand a lot and put a lot of trains there. Also the maritime, there we really see that we need to decarbonize the ports. Because many ports are really coming very, entering the city a lot where citizens live and make pollution. So we really need to decarbonize that. Trucks will kick off from 2018 on the European roads. I mean, there are several projects here. We will have a project in France with Symbio and Renault Master. We see projects in Switzerland with Coop. We see a project in Norway with ASCO and Scania, and also in Belgium, VDL Colruyt will put a truck next year on the road. And I think Europe is well placed, but of course there's competition, you know. Competition from the US with truck from Nikola Trucks, also Toyota is working something in LA Port. Also from China, which is planning 2,000 commercial vehicles on the road for the next 3 years. And you can see the 3 brands who are working on that. And also in Japan, Toyota is teaming up with 7-Eleven to see how they can bring to the 7-Eleven shops to bring their goods in a proper and a clean way to them using fuel cells. So from ourselves, we will also work on garbage trucks. You will see that probably we'll announce later the year some projects with garbage trucks. And also for next year, we are thinking on do some research really on long distance trucks driving, so intercity trucks driving on fuel cells and hydrogen. So to start some research on that as well. When we go to aviation, so aviation, thanks to our support in the aviation sector, end of last year, we had the first four-seater propelled by hydrogen taking off in Germany and landing as well, safely, without any problem. And so it was a very big success. And of course now the next step is we are never satisfied. So four persons, well, okay, let's go to 10, you know. So we will now start to do research. So our next phase will be about how we can scale up and build a business jets so that companies who have a jet can also travel in a clean way. Okay. Maybe just another thing in aviation is a bit separate. So this is about smaller planes, but the big planes that we are having, like the Airbuses and so on. There we are working together with them in order to the electricity which is generated on board for infotainment system and so on. Now they have these big burners and generators to use their hydrogen and fuel cell technology also to produce that electricity, so in a clean way. And the kitchenettes and so on. So we have some projects on that as well. This is about the cross-cutting. This is the horizontal layer. So as I said, we work on RCS really globally with US, with Japan and so on together. We prepare the European workforce. We make sure that the public is aware of this technology and make sure there is a social acceptance. And we should never forget the importance of social acceptance. I think it's very, very important for a technology to succeed. Also something what we are working on is the guarantees of origin for green hydrogen, because we all know that producing green hydrogen is more expensive than gray hydrogen. So we have to make sure that green hydrogen gets some benefit in the policy, so that it makes sense to make green hydrogen even though it's more expensive. So we are working on that kind of scheme. Also, we actually worked with the fire department also on training them to develop really a program. So in case there is an accident, how they have to extinguish the fire, for example. They have to get this kind of education. So we built up a very beautiful test site in the south of France for that. This is about SMEs in Horizon 2020. So, as I said, we have 50% SMEs in the industry, and a lot of contribution from the European money goes to small and medium enterprises. Actually, 27% of the money goes there. So what I want to show with this slide is really also a joint undertaking. It's not only about the big industries, but a lot of small companies are really benefiting of this kind of joint undertaking. Some examples, this is H2 Logic. I mean, when we see H2 Logic, they were in 2003 only with 3 persons. Now they are 180 persons. Their revenue went up drastically. They are now actually in 2017, they will have the world's largest hydrogen station factory. It will be built in Denmark. And honestly, this is thanks to the European programs. I mean, they were really participating, and we helped them to develop. Because at the beginning, I mean, back in 2003, H2 Logic did everything. They made backup powers. They were experiencing a little bit with this technology in different applications. We say, well, you have to focus, and finally they focused on HRSs, and you can see how fast it can go. Another was ITM Power, same story. They are growing now very fast. Also the product sales are increasing, the losses are reducing. So in the beginning they got a lot of grants, but now basically they have more and more sales. And you see these are small SMEs that started and now starting to really become profitable. Not yet, they are not yet there, but we see really many of these companies that started 10 years ago now surfacing and go from the red figures really into the black figures. And this is really promising and gives us, of course, also the motivation to continue to go and help and to make sure that Europe stays in the leadership position in the world. Also, we see a lot of startups really deriving from some research organizations. I mean, this is just 2 examples. Is Sylphen, which is a spin-off from CEA. This is about energy. mainly, and then below you can see Symbio. This is for the range extender. It's also a spin-off from CEA, but I mean, there's a lot of other examples as well. Also, last year we were thinking about how can we give a boost to this technology? How we can reach 500 million people, because in Europe, 500 million people, so how do we reach them from Europe? So huge, so many people. And I said, well, let's work together with the cities and the regions, because those mayors, they are very close to their citizens. They are meeting them every day, and many of their citizens say, well, Mr. Mayor, I want clean air. What will you do about it? So they have issues they have to tackle. So we said, okay, let's work together with them. We made a memorandum of understanding with many of these regions. So we are covering now more than 20 countries. We have, here it mentions 74, but actually I think we are close to 80 already. We have now covered about 110 million of citizens. But more important, the GDP is about 3.7 trillion of euros of GDP that's representing. And yeah, that's money. If you can get some part of that invested in our technology, that would be great, you know. And that's why we do it. Of course, there's global competition. I don't think it's a surprise, but I can honestly say that Europe is really leading in this technology. I mean, I mentioned SOFC, I mentioned electrolyzers, but in many other areas as well, we are really leadership position. This is thanks to these European programs, and honestly, I can tell that. But we need to be aware, so we need to do the continuous research. It's very important, but also we have to look how we can have instruments to really go for mass deployment. And in that sense, I mean, just to show you what other parts of the world is doing, for example, in the US, they have funding programs for this technology, totally $130 million per year they put in this sector. Also Japan. Japan is actually supporting with 350 million US dollars. It's even much more. And if you calculate that per capita, well, that's a lot of money. Yeah? It's almost like €3 per person is putting in every year. China, very important. China discovered this technology and they decided to switch from batteries to fuel cells. So the funding schemes for the batteries are going down and they are building up the funding schemes for fuel cells, kind of a change there. And in Europe, so at the moment is 100 million euros that grants that are issued every year through mainly our program. It's about 95 billion euro for our program, but there are some CEF, so Connecting Europe facilities is mainly deployment there. And this really made Europe, as I said, world leader, definitely in HRSs, buses. We have the most buses on the road of the world, electrolyzers, SOFC technology, so many success stories had to be told. But we all know we run until 2020, so that's 2-3 more years later, and then it stops. And of course, the other parts of the world, they will continue. So what will Europe do? So we say stop, or should we keep fighting with equal weapons? And that's, of course, a political decision. And of course, we believe, and I know the industry and the researchers, they all believe, no, we have to continue. If we want to keep our leadership, we have to keep investing in that. And so we are in talks with the Commission for the future, and we are also preparing, actually the industry and the researchers are preparing some proposal for the future. But again, as I said, we need to work around research. We have to reduce the cost on research, or maybe we have to work around materials as well. And at the same time, we need to think about instruments really for mass deployment. How do we build 1,000 HRSs? How do we put 2,000 buses on the road? So what are the mechanisms? And that is where we are thinking now on that for the next phase of the fuel cells and hydrogen joint undertaking. So I hope that within the next 1 or 2 years, we can announce another program, but let's see. Again, it's a political discussion, decision, and I think all of you can also support. So if you reach out to your, let's say, politicians that you know, and you say it's important to do that, so please mention that as well. So just to summarize why PPPs play a very significant role is basically for those reasons. What we achieved in the first phase and also in the second phase, but mainly we really built a community. We gathered all the research and the industry working around this technology together. we are discussing on a frequent basis together, and we set the priorities together. We say, okay, well, let's tackle first that one, and that is where we put the money now in, and then we do that one, and we make roadmaps together. It's very important, working together, networking. Secondly is, this program built trust, because this was a 1.4 billion euro program for 7 years, and basically the industry felt like, okay, really, the public sector, they're investing in this money for long. I mean, we will get every year for the next 7 years 100 million euro. This gives us trust, and yes, we are willing to put also our money in that technology, and we can see really a significant private investment also happened now in this technology. On the other hand, such a public-private partnership brings really benefits to the citizens in a very fast way. I mean, just to show you with the buses where we are, or with electrolyzers, I mean, people can ride the bus, and they can experience zero-emission bus. So you bring those technology quickly to the market, and your citizens can enjoy it. Another one is this partnerships works very well for SMEs, as I explained you. I give you a few examples. Also, it's a very good chance to test in a small environment some policies. Also, it turns really science into investment and jobs. And we can really tackle societal challenges very efficient and effective. Because my program, we are 26 people, and we are running a 1.5 billion euro program with more than 200 projects, with only 26 people. So I would say it's very efficient. I mean, the people are working extremely hard, and extremely motivated people we have. I'm very lucky. Coming up, and that's final slides, is that we will have our 10th edition of the Stakeholder Forum. So it's time for a little party, I would say, by the end of the year, because when you reach 10 years, I mean, I think we should celebrate that. So if you have a time and you want to know how far we came in 10 years' time and how the future will look like, because that's where we will also announce a bit the next targets, please come over 22nd of November, and then after that we have 2 days program review days. What is that? It's basically all the projects, well, not all the projects, around 100 projects will be shown during 2 days, and you will learn about them, and they will show some results from research demonstrations. So if you're interested, please join. Also, we will have a transport event, will be on the 22nd of September in Brussels, just in front of the Berlaymont building. Thank you.